Welcome, everyone. Another year, 2024 this time. As always, it is very exciting for me to see so many of you once again gathered here today, and I couldn't be more thrilled to kick off these 2 days of hopefully great content. Since our last Decoded event in summer 23, Parity as a company has redefined itself, somewhat by stepping back, but mainly by allowing emerging ecosystem agents to take on leadership roles across various areas of contributions to Polkadot, where previously Parity has held the torch. At the same time, the Polkadot network has undergone a significant transformation as well, from a technical perspective, from a builder perspective, as well as from a community and governance point of view. So let me start with a brief community recap of the last year. In the past 12 months, more transactions have been executed on and secured by Polkadot than in all the previous preceding 3 years combined. Also, since October last year, the staking rate on Polkadot has increased once again. Now, that leads us to $850 million, which, is what? 850 times $6? Quite a lot of economic security that secures the integrity of the Polkadot ecosystem, the Polkadot network today. Further, OpenGov, the transparent open governance system that controls the Polkadot network and helps it evolve, is barely 1 year old now. Upon its launch last year, it became the largest and most sophisticated DAO out there. And since it went live, it has seen significant growth. And I brought you a couple of metrics that I think are worth watching. So since October last year, the number of monthly active referenda has doubled to more than 100 active proposals last month open alone. The voter participation has increased by 40% to 23,000 in the first half of this year. The average voting power has increased by a staggering 245% to almost $5 billion being voted with on a monthly basis. And, given the debate in the last few weeks, we know there's still a lot to be done, right, to improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of Polkadot governance, and particularly its treasury functions. One thing that I believe will help with it is the Polkadot Community Foundation that's being formed imminently. Previously, the Treasury was limited to only provide pre- or post-funding to its proposers. Now, with this new Polkadot Community Foundation, the Treasury will be able to enter into legal agreements with counterparties and hold these counterparties legally accountable towards their promises. I do hope this will make a meaningful mark on how effective we as a community can be with the spending that we decide on. Now, further, the Polkadot Forum, many of you will be aware of that, I believe is really a central place for our community to collaborate, to discuss, collaborate. And it has seen significantly higher and more consistent activity since last October too. Starting from there, engagement has essentially tripled across all meaningful metrics, and page views have doubled to an average of 100,000 monthly reviews. I think that this surge of activity and engagement gives me quite a lot of confidence in the bright future of our ecosystem, but it doesn't stop here. Behind me, you will see a list of just some of the teams which have been founded or significantly expanded just in the last year to drive Polkadot's success, and basically to complement what Parity has done in the past. The Polkadot and Treasury and the Web3 Foundation's Decentralized Future program that many of you probably have heard of have provided the necessary springboard for these ventures. And, with my hat of the Parity CEO, I'm quite proud to count many of Parity's former staff members as founders or contributors to many of these teams. Overall, Polkadot has grown more robust, more sophisticated, and we've seen a number of new capital leaders emerge. But now, let's talk a little bit about Parity. Above everything else, Parity is best known for its engineering team and culture. And this is really central to our identity. This shift we've gone through within the last year is a return to where we feel our collective DNA lies as an engineering organization. But, talk is cheap, so let me share with you some of the highlights, my highlights, around major technical initiatives that we as Parity have either led or contributed to in the last 12 months. Let's start with Agile Core Time. Previously on Polkadot, builders had to acquire a dedicated Polkadot core for anything between 3 months to 2 years via the Parity lease auction system. Particularly for early stage teams, this wasn't quite flexible enough. Those teams that basically just had gotten started didn't really need an entire core, yet they had to pay for it because there was nothing else on offer. Now, Agile Core Time changes this and makes Polkadot, in some sense, much more akin to what you're used from a modern cloud offering. So what do we have with Agile Core Time? The main resource Polkadot provides to its builders is Core Time. This resource you can use, right? Like to secure your chain, to finalize, to let it speak to all the other parachains in the ecosystem and beyond. Now, Core Time can be acquired in 3 ways going forward. It can be purchased in advance and automatically renewed to prevent material changes in your operating expenses. That's in the sense of bulk Core Time, right? Really akin to like acquiring in a cloud environment a dedicated instance. This is quite special because it gives you the ability to do robust financial planning and is very unique to Polkadot. The second way is via on-demand Core Time. That way, Core Time can be purchased in small amounts when you need it and only when you need it, effectively removing an entry barrier that we had before. Last but not least, Core Time going forward will be able to be traded on secondary markets to allow for even better resource allocation. For that, there are 2 teams that's really worth checking out, Elastic and RegionX. Another major breakthrough that we've worked on that recently, I believe in May, went live on Polkadot is async backing. What had it done to Polkadot and for its parachains, for its constituents? Async backing has halved parachain block protection time from 12 seconds to 6 seconds and quadrupled the available computing time per block. Overall, this gained us a staggering 10-fold increase in available throughput. Another major feature we've been working on is elastic scaling. Elastic scaling is here to, in the future, allow parachains to use multiple cores. Somewhat similar to how your computer at home uses multiple CPU cores for computation. Parachains with high transaction demand can scale by using multiple cores, while parachains with fewer transactions may be able to even share cores with other parachains and thereby also share the cost. This system will be dynamic and adjust on a block-by-block basis, providing the most flexible and efficient resource allocation out there. In a very first phase, right, we're looking here at the next few months, half the year, we are looking to roll out the first version of this, which will be called fixed factor scaling. And fixed factor scaling will initially allow parachains to use up to 3 Polkadot cores per parachain. Parachains using this feature will not only triple their available throughput, but they will also see their parachain block time reduced from 6 seconds to 2 seconds, further enhancing their users' experience in return. The Web3 ecosystem overall, right, has been plagued by trusted, insecure bridges for way, way, way too long. And it has cost the industry, our industry, dearly. These type of bridges have resulted in a combined loss of, I believe, over $2 billion in crypto assets across the blockchain industry. Now, thankfully, this time is over now. After many years of very hard work by many players in our ecosystem, trustless bridges are finally here and only available on Polkadot. What do we have? We now have Interlay bridging anyone in Polkadot to Bitcoin securely. We do have Kusama and Polkadot bridged in a trustless, fully secure way. We also, finally, after many years of hard work, Snowfork, in collaboration with us, delivered Snowfork, which is the first properly decentralized, secure, trustless ETH bridge that doesn't rely on a multi-sig or some other, staked actors that provide some, attestations. And last but not least, I'm incredibly excited for what another team in the Polkadot ecosystem is trying to bring forward in the coming months. Hyperbridge. Hyperbridge is a crypto economic coprocessor that is poised to provide the first secure bridges to and between many other blockchains out there, starting with Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, and BNB. Now, one other major project that I think will significantly improve user and builder experience on Polkadot, the new Ledger app that was launched. In the past, if you build with a Polkadot SDK, Substrate, and you build your parachain, you had to build your own Ledger app that would work with your chain. Now, that meant cost to build it. It meant also delays every single time you would, upgrade your runtime. This is now all a thing of the past. With the new metadata system that we launched, as well as the Ledger app that we launched and built in collaboration with a number of other teams, including the Ledger team, Zondex, and many others, now allows parachains that are being built to be compatible with one unified Ledger app out of the box. And it also means there will never be blind signing again, enhancing the security that users that interact with all these parachains are exposed to. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and do something somewhat unusual for these sort of talks for us. I'm finally really excited to reveal a new Polkadot product we've been working on. This is a product to onboard beginners into Polkadot. A product to actually, I think, for everyone to be able to experience Polkadot. We know that crypto can be really challenging for people, and we believe this product will be the easiest way to onboard anyone you come across to Polkadot, no matter what their background. Introducing the new Polkadot app, a mobile app that was specifically created to onboard people into the Polkadot ecosystem, so designed and conceptualized from the ground up for ease of use, built for everyone. The app is super simple and secure. No seed phrases, no username or passwords. Instead, it uses Apple and Google Cloud to back up your credentials. Long, clunky wallet addresses have been a major barrier for ease of use for many users. We are solving this pain point by integrating simple to use, simple to read, simple to write usernames. We've also simplified the way to send DOT to your family and friends, as well as stablecoins such as USDT and USDC. The app will really be simple enough for the crypto uninitiated or your parents to use. Let's say you're in the backseat of a taxi, right? And you want to give, your driver gave you an amazing experience and you want to give them a tip, but they don't have the app downloaded or installed yet. No problem. Send them a link via text, WhatsApp, or email, and they'll be able to claim the tokens essentially with one click. But, what would be a Polkadot product without staking, right? It gotta be there. So we wanted everyone to be able to stake DOT to get access to staking rewards with as little as 1 click. And that's what you should expect from that app. But this mobile app is really more than just your common, self-custodial crypto wallets optimized for ease of use. With this Polkadot app, you will be able to pay with crypto without leaving the comfort of your self-custodial wallet. You may wonder, pay where? Well, in more than 1 million stores and websites across the US, and later this year, we are looking to launch international support starting, we will have to see on timing. We're looking at the H2 this year, but we're looking at bringing crypto payments to over 33 countries and adding another more than 2,000 brands and millions of more stores to it. But that's not all of it. On every purchase, you will be able to get up to 20% cashback in DOT, funded by the brands you shop at. Now, this app, we are looking at launching this app in Q3 this year. The development is already underway. And we really can't wait to get this app into your hands and show your communities and get your feedback. Now, in a truly collaborative way, right? This app was a joint effort by multiple teams. There's Parity, who was driving the concept and design. Our friends at Nova Sama are building the app. And our partners at Raise will be powering payments. Excitingly, we intend for this app, right, like this new model and this new app, to be collectively owned by the Polkadot token holders. And how do we do that? Well, we intend to use the brand new Polkadot Community Foundation that is controlled, legally, controlled by the Polkadot token holders. But that's not all there is to it. Because beyond that, we are working with Raise to enable any self-custodial Polkadot wallet to be able to integrate this payment API, and you will be absolutely sure to hear more about this from us in the future. Now, in addition to what I mentioned earlier, right, the things that Parity is focusing on, predominantly tech development, technical builder community nurturing, and so forth, we at Parity are increasingly prioritizing a small number of high-impact partnerships, which we believe have the power to meaningfully move the needle for Polkadot. We are looking for the best entrepreneurs and leaders, trying to tackle the most ambitious technical and business opportunities. Those that really need the scale that only Polkadot can provide. And one team you may have heard of, Mythical Games, I think is a good example among these that are really, because they're really positioned to make a huge impact in the gaming space, right? As one of the verticals that we are really interested in. And we, of course, have a number of other heavyweights in other verticals and areas that we are focused on. One of them is Raise, who powers the payments feature in the app that I just presented. Raise may be a new name to you, but we believe they are a partner that will allow us to make a meaningful mark in another one of our focus areas, which is payments. So without further ado, I want to use the opportunity to shed a bit more light on what we are looking at here. And so I would really like to welcome George Bouzes, the founder and CEO of Raise, on stage now for a brief chat. All right.
Right.
Okay, are you being...
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on. Nice. So, it's been a few years, right, since we met. I think it was 2021 in Barcelona. Past the pandemic, we had a Parity retreat, and you flew out with one of your good buddies to meet with Gav and me and so forth. And I think there's worth something touching on here. So a little bit of context. Back then, we were really looking at the payment space because we thought a blockchain, the technology, the type of scalable blockchain technology we built with Polkadot could meaningfully impact the experience and the businesses of payments companies. But when we look deeper in it, you realize that the payment sector is essentially controlled by a duopoly, right? Namely, two companies, Visa and MasterCard. And we struggled a little bit with finding like an entry point, how we could, address that market and bring our technology to the place. And this is kind of how we met you, right? Like you came and really told us something very interesting about the gift card industry. So you all may wonder, like, gift card industry, well, what's that? Like, why does that play a role here? I think it might be worth sharing a little bit what you enlightened us with back then.
Sure. So thanks for having me, everyone. I'm a big fan of keeping things pretty simple. And what it really came down to is there's $1 trillion of value transfer between brands and consumers every year in the gift card space. And what's really scary about that number is that the brands know nothing about who these customers are or where this money comes from. And so we were really fascinated about how this technology can be used in the gift card space to solve a lot of the issues that have plagued the industry for a long time around fraud, around money laundering, around the fact that the brands know nothing about who these customers are. And so it's something that we spent a lot of time on. It's also an industry that's completely fragmented and isn't dominated or controlled by the players that you'd mentioned, by the Visa or the MasterCard or anyone else. And because it's so fragmented by nature, we think there's a massive opportunity to disrupt the industry. It's also one that we talked about briefly that you had mentioned. It's also one that's completely global and fully distributed. And it's an industry, for those of you that don't know, that's growing about 15% a year. And so it's a space where in the next 5 or 6 years, we're talking about trillions of dollars of value that's going to be exchanged between brands and consumers. And we feel like there's a better way to build this.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can touch on the size of the industry a bit more, like, because it was baffling to me, right? Like, everybody's aware of gift cards, right? Like the physical gift cards, the digital gift cards, be it from like Amazon, Starbucks, and so forth. And you think like, yeah, I use it every now and then, right? But like, it is quite eye-opening if you just realize the size of it and the growth rates over the last, 10 years, right? I think, what did you say? Like, it was
it's at $1 trillion this year, right? And we're going to get to about $2.5 trillion in the next 5 or 6 years globally. And so, again, huge space.
And I think what was really interesting for me to learn back then in 2021 was as well that you had already looked at that in 2014. In fact, you had published a white paper, right, illuminating how blockchain technology could be used to, radically disrupt the gift card space and like deliver much more value to those parties that interact via it, right? In essence, consumers, brands, retailers. Like, what held you up so long? What took so long?
You're really dating me here of how long we've been working on this. But so to give everyone a little bit of color, I had founded the business in 2012, and this is shortly after I first was introduced to Bitcoin and was fascinated about the whole industry. And we got really lucky because we found product market fit super early on in the business. And so just to give everyone a little bit of color, the first year of the business, we did $700,000 of revenue. Within a few years, we were at a $600 million a year run rate. And so we got really lucky. The business was working out. But albeit all the success that we were having early on, we felt like there was something that was missing, right? We started really seeing the ugly side of the industry, which you couldn't really see at much smaller scale. We started seeing the fraud, the money laundering, all the bad actors that were there, the questions from the brands of who these customers were, where they were coming from. And I really felt like there had to be a better way that we could solve this. And so in 2014, we were exploring trying to build these things using Bitcoin. Realized, again, too slow, too expensive. It degraded all the unit economics from the retailers in order to build a new kind of network. And in 2015, we tried it again with the launch of Ethereum. And at that point, it became much more than just payments. We felt like there was an opportunity to introduce programmability and make money or currency fully programmable. And so we went down that path, but again, we kept running into issues around scale, transaction speed, settlement, cost, and all the things that you would expect in the payment space. And so it's the classic, I would say, founders, innovators dilemma around the fact that the technology needed to catch up with the times. And so we had to kind of shelf everything and sit on the sidelines and wait for, again, this technology to catch up. And so it wasn't until a number of years later where a lot of these technical shortfalls have now been solved. But that's what's, I think, so compelling and so interesting about our space. It's the fact that we're now at a time where all these shortfalls and all these issues could be solved. And so I feel like it's a bit of a redemption moment for us because we were right all along. It just is a timing thing. And I think there's so many other founders out there that have the right idea, but it's at the wrong time. And so the good news is that we didn't stop making progress. And the biggest opportunity for us that we saw is, albeit again a lot of the success that we were having, we realized quickly that the opportunity was so much bigger than what we were first trying to solve for. So in the beginning, we were trying to build this gift card marketplace, right, where individuals like all of us can buy or sell gift cards, and that's an industry where that's tens of billions of dollars a transaction a year. I think the opportunity here that we realized in starting to work with the brands is that this was so much more than what we had expected. And so we started working directly with the brands. This is 2014, 15. Today, again, as you touched on, we have a couple thousand brand partners in the US that we work directly with. We're tied in directly into their point of sale systems where we can issue cards on demand to any retailer. And so there's a lot more that we're working on that I'm really excited to share with the community over the next several months. But it's a really interesting time and something that we're really excited to share more.
And I remember quite vividly in 21 when we sat down and you laid out like the size of the industry and the potential opportunity here. And then we had a couple of workshops where we did really a deep dive, and it was quite eye-opening to realize how archaic the technology is that's being used in that space, particularly considering the amount of value that flows through it and the potential, the how much brands actually like, this product of gift cards, right? And we went through the whole value chain, right? All these actors from gift card processor, right? The issuer, the point where you can redeem it, the point of sale system, right? It's mind-blowing. As a technologist, you look at this and you think like half of the companies basically just provide not even a database, right?
Rent seekers, right?
It's wild, and everybody takes a cut, right, along the way, right, and prevents the system from improving, from delivering more value to the two sides that really want to interact with consumers and brands, right? Can you tell a little bit about
Sure.
what made the difference then in 20? Because 3 years ago, right, around that time, we went on that journey and eventually decided to partner up with to try it out, to try to change it.
Yeah.
What made the difference at that point?
Sure. I think that it comes down to the technical challenges and the hurdles, right? The big innovation in the gift card space over the last 100 or so odd years since the first gift card paper certificates were created, which is actually pretty scary, is that the innovation in the last 100 years has been paper certificates to plastic cards that you see on end caps to digital gift cards delivered via email. So think about it, $1 trillion between plastic cards and end caps and digital emails that you receive. And so what we started seeing as a trend post-COVID is that digital gift cards and the utility for digital gift cards exploded post-COVID. And the reason for that is, obviously QR, mass adoption of technology and whatnot, but also the other opportunities that digital gift cards introduced. So it was no longer about gifting, which you would think of what a physical gift card was. It actually was so much more. So if you think of what digital gift cards are today, because we power the likes of Citibank and PayPal and Rakuten and a bunch of other large platforms, if you think of it from a points redemption, when you have points on your credit card, if you think of it from driving loyalty, the example that you touched on, Starbucks, right? I think what a lot of folks don't realize is Starbucks is actually a bank that sells coffee, right? 55% of all of Starbucks' transactions are on a Starbucks card, which is a gift card. And that's fascinating because if you think of the float and what it's done to Starbucks' business around expansion, around loyalty, they've realized that sacrificing the achievement side for the data and knowing who their customers are and where they're shopping and what drink they're ordering was way more valuable than the expiring credits that they were earning. And so we're seeing this as an industry trend, which is retailers are leveraging gift cards as a means to drive loyalty and retention and frequency in their stores. And there are way more benefits than just what you can see on the surface in this space. And so, I'm happy to see that a lot of the things that we talked about years ago are actually now coming to fruition in the space. And I still think we're super early, right? I mean, we're in the first inning of what this can be. We touched on briefly the programmability layer, and I think that's something that, although a lot of folks may not understand, let me explain to you what this can be, right? Think of if you can make a gift card fully programmable based on events, outcomes, things like the weather. To give you an example, it was raining just a couple days ago here. Let's say if it was raining in Brussels, programmatically in the smart contract, you can program that gift card to fluctuate balance based on weather patterns. So if it starts raining in Brussels, movie theaters or restaurants that suffer when the weather sucks outside can programmatically adjust the value of that card over time. Or you can do things like yesterday, you saw England beat the Netherlands. Imagine if everyone there that was in England received a 20% boost to get additional cashback or earnings to the team store when they were buying jerseys. These are all the types of things that you can do, and that's just a small sample set of where we think this can head in the future.
For once, I'm quite glad we met 3 years ago, and it's been a good journey so far. We've been working in the background quite heavily, and I'm sure everybody can be quite excited and looking forward to what we have in petto for the next few months and years. A bunch of announcements coming probably, but also all that said, George and the race team, there are a couple more folks here, will be here the next 2 days. So if you have any questions, right, if you want to engage, come find us and let's engage.
Yeah, as Björn said, like we're around if anyone's interested in building anything. We have this full suite of APIs and a bunch of other technology that we've built internally, and we're really thrilled to be partnering with the Polkadot ecosystem. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what you guys are seeing. So we're really thrilled to share all this with you guys, and thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you.